If you ask William Shatner, that's right, he of Captain James T. Kirk in Star Trek fame, about the issue of UFOs, UAPs, to him it's a non-issue. We're so far beyond the what-if debate, it is merely a process now of unraveling the paradoxical mysteries of our universe that we are only just now starting to glimpse. For Shatner, the science is clear. UAPs are here and have been for much longer than most people are willing to acknowledge. What is happening today is not a new occurrence of this phenomenon. This is part of our history as a species. He says the blatant dismissal of native people's stories from around the world about UAPs as part of the broader discussion we should be having on the issue shows there is still a long way to go for mainstream thinking. It is not about venturing into a world of speculation. It is about finding the good science and following the facts, not fiction. Whether or not individuals choose to look is a choice we're all free to make, but don't presume dogmatic anti-UFO social conditioning constitutes a valid argument against this very real phenomenon and the voluminous amounts of data that backs it up. Much in the same way that mountains were once considered a mystical creation until the hard science of plate tectonics ruined that party, UAP facts speaks for itself, and the facts around UAPs demands our attention. Cautiously, Shatner, also equally, is adamant that the debate about who or what is piloting them is far from over, even after he took part in the groundbreaking scientific work by UPX near California's Catalina Island, one of the biggest hotspots in the world for UFOs. With confidence, Shatner said, "I don't think it's a green man inside the glowing dot or object in the sky, but thinks the most likely answer is a robot, perhaps some kind of sentient artificial intelligence. Who made it? Is it ours? Is it theirs? He has no definitive answer, but again, he is overwhelmingly confident that in the vast, complex nature of space, that it demands that we cannot be alone. To presume so is simply a byproduct of human arrogance that we are the most important thing in the cosmos. Whether as a carbon-based life like us, or another element, or simply a form of energy that doesn't take a solid shape, he doesn't know. But to presume otherwise, for Shatner, is foolish. It's hard to argue with that base logic. We are, after all, a species that pollutes its home, fights over things we could share, and kills each other over our interpretations of who is in charge. Hardly a blueprint for the finest creation billions of years of known existence in the universe can produce. But for men whose life legacy is deeply intertwined with space exploration, he says there could be another aspect to this also worth considering. In nature, Fata Morgana is a phenomenon where energy and light creates visual illusions, typically at sea. It is the vibrations of particles that essentially makes us see things that aren't there, or at least where they should be. In a lab, U.S. military researchers know how to manipulate energy waves to the point that the brain can be hijacked in ways that ideas and even visual impressions can be imposed upon the unwitting. Could some or part of what we're seeing around UAPs involve part of that kind of explanation? Could something like America's extremely powerful HARP antenna array in Alaska be used to fiddle with the natural frequencies in the energy all around us? It's very possible. At least, a component. Frequencies are key regardless of how people approach the issue with UAPs. Whether objects are traveling from another dimension or the depths of space, everything in the universe is written in the code of vibrational frequencies. Tweak the dials, he says, and anything and going anywhere really is possible. As Shatner points out, when you begin to understand the unifying theory of everything, whatever it is, the only limitations are self-imposed. The pop culture icon speaks reassuringly of the fact we too are centers of vibrational energy, and we must take time to connect with the environment around us, because whatever this phenomenon is, it is connected to the bigger energies that makes up the entirety of the universe. Energy most of us are not consciously attuned with. But Shatner says the benefits of prayer, meditation, yoga, controlled breathing, whatever, it all helps align ourselves and our frequencies with the world around us. Understanding that concept is a big step in understanding what UAPs could be and how they operate. It is with a little sense of irony that Shatner has journeyed from being one of North America's most celebrated Shakespearean actors. Interesting side note, Shatner graced the iconic Stratford, Ontario stages along with his lifelong friend and fellow entertainment and Shakespearean icon, the late Christopher Plummer. Now, Shatner has gone on to become a messenger of sorts to the masses, a minstrel for the modern age, helping enthrall people by speaking truth to power about the reality of UAPs and the need to use science and common sense to face this reality together. After all, for Shatner, it is likely the Bard of Avon put it best: "We know not what we are, but know not what we may be." Shatner's willingness over the decades to use his star power as a vehicle to promote this agenda, like his latest hit show, The Unexplained, that ventures headfirst into other strange and logic-defying events, helps provide an umbrella that mainstream science can gather beneath as it moves forward. The man behind Captain Kirk is still willing to go where others haven't gone before, to blaze that trail that others can follow. It cannot be overstated the contribution Star Trek, and by extension one of its most famous characters, Captain Kirk, has had on society. Over the course of scratching out many articles on Star Trek over the years, one of the hallmarks of this iconic show was always the idea that our differences makes us equal, a glorious principle that should be the baseline for all humanity. But it was also suggested to me recently that Gene Roddenberry's creation may have included some very well-placed, specific ideas and concepts that would help lay foundations for deliberate social and scientific revolution. Now, Shatner agreed, at least to the point where Roddenberry's collaborative, creative efforts certainly bore the fruit we all see today, and it is plausible that deliberate inspiration could have been a factor in helping steer that creative vessel exactly where some thought it needed to go. Now, our discussion also turned towards the parallels between Star Trek V and some of the risks that we face today. The idea being the dangers of falling victim to a false prophet or deity that's being used as a pretext to try to control the UAP narrative and, by extension, people. If we don't fully understand this phenomenon, it can behave in ways that, to some, might seem godlike, and the lens through which we see the world will focus this issue how we want to see it, not necessarily how it really is. That's why he sees value in giving people the depth of field to see the issue free from prejudice or the need to be reliant on others to do all the work for us. Use the tools we have for ourselves. So, where does the man who has literally done and seen it all find his undiminishing zest for life in the face of all this? Well, taking a trip to space certainly helped. When Shatner took his historic ride aboard Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket last year, he had an epiphany. "When I looked into the darkness of space, I saw death," he said. "When I saw the colors of Earth, I saw life." Such a beautiful sentiment, and in that moment, when he was sailing back down to the surface below, Shatner was stirred to eventually co-write a song so fragile, so blue. For him, it's a sort of anthem, a calling to us all, to take hold of our precious Earth and save it for ourselves. When you have a passion for something that real, that soul-shaking passion, you truly have unlocked an essential pillar for what life is really about. Holding that fire, protecting the sanctity of what makes us human, is a precious element none of us should ever live without. At 91, William Shatner has a fire within so hot, he hopes the intensity is enough to try to spark a flame within us all. That's his wish, to help give us the gift of self. To love our world is to love ourselves and each other, because we're all on this precious journey together, on this beautiful planet we all call home. But it must be protected, because it's ours. Understanding that means understanding the value of now, and coveting the emotions of those who stir our souls and the joys it brings, and the power that it can have to bring change. That will help us stay grounded during these changing times. These are things we cannot lose sight of. What really matters is preserving our today for tomorrow. I'm Sean. Thanks for listening. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the content, and don't forget to subscribe. There's new content coming all the time. Thanks for listening.